welcome back all of you once again to Judicious. Today we are going to discuss about the various functions which a sales executive plays in any organization. So may it be related to management field or to simply doing field sales, internal sales, that is B2B, or maybe marketing. So we're going to just go through all of these functions, and first of all we'll be dividing the first things first. That the basic thing is that if we divide the functions of sales executives, it can be said that one on one side they perform operating functions, or on the other hand they follow planning functions, right? So as the name suggests, operating functions are the one which are basically on a day-to-day basis, daily basis, whereas planning functions are relatively for a longer duration of time, and they are aimed towards overall achievement of the organizational objectives. So first we're going to start with the operating functions which a sales executive performs within an organization. So first is Salesforce management, right from analysis of the requirement of manpower, depending upon that recruitment, selection, training, motivating, performance appraisal, directing and guiding. All these things are also a part of operating functions which a sales executive has to perform. Apart from that, setting up of sales targets, sales quota, as well as territory management is another aspect of the functions which they perform on a daily basis. Next is handling relationships with executives in other departments. See, we simply know that sales and and marketing are something which cannot be performed in a watertight compartment. Watertight means in isolation with other departments, because they have to work hand in hand with other departments, may it be research and development, operations, productions, finance, purchase, HR, or so forth. So it is absolutely not advisable to have any kind of issues or disputes with the executives of other departments, because that will ultimately lead to compromising of the overall organizational objective. So it is rather advised that the relationship with of salespeople with the executives of other departments must be cordial. Next, again, because we are moving towards customer relationship nowadays, if you talk about sales and marketing, so the salespeople need to communicate and as well as create relationships with customers, either existing as well as prospects, which are not yet our customer, but they are high probability is there that they might convert into one. So we need to communicate and create relationships with them, not only with them but also with our trade channels, like business partners, for example, wholesalers, retailers, brokers, agents, transporters, warehouse providers. So we need to have cordial relationships with them as well. So these were about the operating functions. Next we move on to the planning functions which the sales executives perform. So the planning function, if we look at from the perspective of a sales executive, then they start right from formulation of a sales program which they want to follow in the long run, then followed by strategies that need to be devised in order to achieve all those sales program, plus then again some techniques which we need to employ for a shorter period of time, so that the planning function can be fulfilled, right, in an effective and efficient manner. Moving ahead, organization of sales department is another very important thing which a sales executive need to do as part of their planning function, whether to organize their sales department in a centralized structure kind of format, or to keep it more liberal in terms of more decentralization. Next is whether they want to keep their sales department structure as product based, customer based, geographical based, or maybe a hybrid of any one or two or more of them, right? So this again is their planning function. Next is sales forecasting, again a very important thing, a very important aspect of planning function, to forecast the sales in the near future, to control whatever they have devised, to see whether the strategies and the sales program which they have formulated are being achieved or not, are the people working on the same lines or not, plus sales budgeting. All this thing has to be done, obviously keeping in mind a reasonable budget, so that budget has constraint has to be followed. Now, since we have seen both these functions, so let us just jot down and see the differences between operating and planning function through a table format. We will be discussing the differences between the two on the basis of, first is the nature of these functions, the time spent, and the activities involved. So if we look at operating functions, they are more of a tactical nature, meaning that they are more of a their duration is a relatively shorter duration. They are technical kind of functions which are performed on day-to-day basis, whereas planning is more of a strategic thing. It is more related to the overall vision, mission, and objectives of an organization. So that being said, operating functions time spent is short term, whereas planning functions are of a longer duration. Activities involved in operating functions are, like I just said, day-to-day dealing with customers, clients, and other executives in the organization. Whereas in planning function, arrangement of the sales organization in a manner that best suits the overall objective of the organization is a part of planning functions. So having seen both of them, having seen the difference between the two, one thing which arises is which one is better. Like if we compare the two, whether operating functions are superior or planning functions are better. So the answer to this question is a bit rather diplomatic, because a sales executive needs to perform both of these functions, so he cannot choose any one of them, right? What he can do is he can prioritize between the two based upon certain factors. Like first is the size of the organization, right? If it is a large organization or a small organization, that would again help him to choose what kind of function he wants to prioritize, plus whether the organization is dealing with domestic or international operations or both. That is also a deciding factor, plus whether the distribution network or the distribution channel of the organization is very extensive, or are they being a bit selective in their approach. Next is a kind of organization structure, whether the organization structure is centralized or decentralized. That will also contribute in choosing to prioritize between the two functions, plus what are the kinds and services which are being manufactured and sold by an organization. And another important thing to be looked upon over here is the type of customers, whether it is a B2B, that is business to business selling which you are doing. I mean, if you are doing any industrial sales or institutional buyers are there, plus either it is B2C, that means business to consumers, for instance government buyers, etc. So these are the various points which sales executive need to keep in mind while deciding which function to opt for, either operating or planning function. So that is it for the session. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next session. Till then, bye bye, take care and stay safe. God bless. Thank you.